Our consciousness is the only thing that exists in the real world. Everything else is a fabrication. Now, the simulated world is like a computer game, but a very, very, very powerful game where you're the character in the game. But you, like now, if somebody's on an Xbox or a PlayStation, they're playing from outside the Xbox, they're playing their character in the game. They control the character in the game that does all sorts of things in the game. But the consciousness lives outside of the game. It's playing the character in the game.
I see.
You see what I'm saying?
But, that's interesting.
But the consciousness is not, it's in the game, but doesn't actually exist in the game. It's like a conduit to the character.
That is actually very interesting because that addresses some of my issues, but I'm just uncomfortable with the word simulation. Because I think you're taking your simulation from the simulations of the game world, like, sim, like the sim game. The sim game, which is obviously sim is short for simulation. That's right. Yes, that's where you're taking it from. And even though you say you are comparing what I'm talking about, a virtual reality, and you are saying in some respects that that's what you mean, I can't accept it, because if there is a consciousness, super consciousness, if you like, if there's a super consciousness manipulating Tony Fasulo, and I wish I'd used a different word for a different phraseology, because manipulation of Tony Fasulo makes it really uncomfortable. That furnishes some unfortunate images and imagery in my mind. If there is a super consciousness behind or within Tony Fasulo and making Tony Fasulo behave one way, and there's another super consciousness behind Tayo Boya making Tayo Boya behave in another way, that would tend more towards a virtual world, not a simulation. A simulation, I think, is where you set properties, you set characteristics, you set the environment, you wind it up, and then you let it go. That, to me, is what I mean by simulation. And I think that is actually the proper definition of
that. Is correct. That is correct. Yeah. That is what simulation theory seems to say. Basically, we are all in this simulation that's created for us, I suppose, and we are just computer code running in this simulation. So we think we're sentient, we think we're having this conversation, but we're only playing out a computer program that has scope to be flexible and think elaborately, but in reality, we are still, in essence, possibly a simulation. That's what simulation theory seems to contend with. Whereas I'm not of that opinion. I feel that the consciousness element, has more a part to play. It's part of the outside of this simulation. So it rather than simulation, we say virtual world, and we play a part, and that we play in this virtual world, but from the outside in, unaware that we're outside.
Unaware that we're outside what exactly?
The virtual world. Yes, we are in the world.
If we move away from all this sort of technical language of virtual world and simulation and
virtual was like a big computer program. And someone was once said that if this was a simulated universe, there wouldn't be enough computational power to do it. However, that I don't personally think that the universe is rendered, so to speak, which is computer terms of drawing a picture on the screen. It's not there all the time. It's built as you observe it. So we are in a small bubble, which is our virtual world. And as soon as we move further, those boundaries grow. And what we leave behind either freezes and doesn't run. So that example that people say, if a tree falls in a forest, did it make a sound? No, it didn't make a sound, because there's no one there to hear it. It's only when